FeedingTubePaul. I'm doing a live stream. I've been meaning to do it for some time. You will notice I'll make a few twitches and facial expressions, and that's okay. That's normal for my disease. What you won't see is you won't see a lot of Parkinson's shaking. Parkinson's, there's different flavors, and the flavor that I have muscle spasticity, jerks and twitches. I do not shake like you would expect. So there's a lot of stuff that's part of Parkinson's, and shaking is just one of them. I do get tremors. Medication does handle that pretty well. So, welcome to my live stream. My computer's not strong enough to handle it, so I'm doing it on my phone. So some of the gadgets that we set up with Streamlabs is not working at this time until I get a better computer. So I'm going to look over here and see if it's working. I don't know if it's working or not, so I guess it is working. I got my fedora. I wasn't sure if this was a fedora. I've had it for some time, but I asked the fedora man on Twitter, Greg Plast, and he said it was a fedora, so I wear it. It's my signature hat. Has been for a long time. So I don't know what happens if nobody comes. If you build it, you'll come. I hope somebody's watching. If not, oh well. It's Saturday night, midnight, Sunday morning. I'm going to quit saying that aggravates me so much when I hear other people say it, but here I am saying it, so what a hypocrite I am. I guess I should apply for the Trump administration then, being a big liberal and being a hypocrite by saying all the time. So tweet me if I say it. So I'm going to change for so. So here we go. It's been a crazy week in Trump world. Crazy week coming up for me, 6 weeks. I have surgery coming up soon. Monday, spinal pump surgery. Hopefully they don't have to change out the catheter that's in my spine. That's what makes me nervous. I have a feeling they will have to. I had a fall again a few months ago when my brace broke, my foot brace. I have foot drop. I can't lift my legs up, so I have these neat braces that automatically lift my legs as I walk. And it broke when I was getting into a truck, and I landed on my back, and I think it messed up I think I got them down here somewhere if I don't pass out. Nope, you just have to look in my timeline, see if it's in there. I know I put a picture of it. It broke at the ankle, and I went flying down on my back, and ever since then my muscles medicine that goes through my pump that's in my stomach through the catheter in my spine hasn't been working right. I've been having more spasticity, and spasticity is muscle spasms. Think of Charlie horses, only Charlie horses that last days or weeks or months, that break bones. The worst muscle bone break I have ever had was the muscle around the big toe. Oh, it just squeezed it and squeezed it and squeezed it until it cracked that big toe. And I now have arthritis in it, believe it or not. So, but it's not a big deal. I don't really feel it because from the waist down, I have autonomic dysreflexia, so the feelings are gone, but it shows up. The toe is crazy. It's the only problem with the arthritis. Is what it does to the bone and muscles and ligaments and things. I don't know much about it, but I know it's deformed my toe. So here we go. Wasn't going to talk about my toe. Hard telling what we're going to talk about. But if you follow me on Twitter, thanks for joining me. If you follow me on YouTube or Twitch, I'm new to Twitch, so hi Twitch. God, there we go again. Jesus. Here we go. Okay. Didn't say it. Almost did, but didn't. Tonight we're going to eat a little dinner, so pull up a snack. I'm going to play my banjo. I do my banjo as part of my occupational therapy for my fingers. And it helps. I used to play banjo great. It's sad that I can't play it like I used to play it. And, you know, it's just part of the being a victim of a disease, whatever it was. Geez, there it was again. At least I'm conscious of the ums. So we're going to take some medicine. We're going to discuss the elephant in Washington, D.C. and all his little elephant turds, the Republicans. Boy, are they awful. Showing their hypocrisy since the last 40 years, 45, 50 years, ever since Nixon's grand strategy or whatever. Boy, they played that just right. And interesting, some of the same players for Nixon, same players for Trump. Although they're not Trump's players, let's be real about it. They're the GOP's players. And I'm getting started on politics right out of the get-go, and I wanted to save that. So I think I'll stop the politics right now. So I tweeted about my dinner. I tweeted about my coffee and about my Diet Mountain Dew. Now, I don't drink it. It goes through the syringe. And you'll see everything's deliberate, because I just can't grab things anymore. And it will go through my feeding tube. It's in my big fat belly, which is another story we'll touch. And the reason why is the caffeine. The caffeine is affects my GABA receptors, and it just takes one medication away. And I used to drink coffee all the time, but I am drinking Diet Mountain Dew, and I still do the same pronouns through the drinking, through my feeding tube, same as through the mouth that you do. But so it does affect my GABA receptors, and being with the baclofen, spinal pump, and some of these other issues that I have, adding a little caffeine to my system just saves having to have some other kind of drug. I did caffeine my entire life. We know what it does to me. Who knows? Take a drug that does the same thing, and I'll end up having to take 2 or 3 other drugs to counteract their side effects. So we'll do about 10 milliliter of each of the Diet Mountain Dew and the coffee. Diet Mountain Dew will be after we eat because of the fuzzy. Will help my stomach. Some people put Coke through their feeding tube, but I will use the carbonated Diet Mountain Dew for the caffeine purposes and the carbonation in my stomach, but just 10 milliliter. And just to show you what 10 milliliter is, this is 10 milliliter syringe. Now about the syringe, you can go to FeedingTubePaul.com, and there I have some links. I'm not sure if I have my Amazon wish list, but these have been up on my Amazon wish list for some time because Medicare only provides 30 medication syringes per month, and I take well over 7,000 doses of medicines. I know that sounds like a lot, but it's not. When you take or 5 medicines 4 times a day. That's over 7,000 doses. And all my medicines go through my feeding tube. I can't swallow anything. And we'll talk about that later. Why, if we want. So I get 30, and we wash them, and they're not syringed. So it's not like doing a hypodermic needle. But the rubbers on them, I don't know if you can see the rubbers, they wear out. And actually, the FDA recently did a recall on a bunch of syringes because the rubbers were deteriorating, and apparently the rubber gasket was diluting the medication down, so people weren't getting medication that they thought they were, because whatever poison is in the rubber, let's call it what it is, whatever poison's in the rubber was changing the medication. So the FDA recently did a recall on a bunch. We were affected and had to throw a bunch away, but I get 30 a month, and one of my Twitter followers saw a tweet, a hashtag tweet, I think it was weird things on the Amazon wish list, and I don't know why, I just was cranky. I just seen Lindsey Graham saying that Medicare was a promise that they weren't going to keep, and I got pissed off at that little weasel, and it was still on my mind, and I tweeted it, and she went to my wish list at Amazon and bought 500 of these syringes, and that was so good because we only had like 100 left that we had saved, and it's a luxury. This one here, I don't know if you can see it, it will be thrown away. You see how the rubber is not the same height. So, Mimi, your syringes came in just in time, because this one will be in the garbage tonight. So, there's that again, but I'm conscious of it, unlike Republicans, not conscious of their. So we'll take our longevity, and we will live, laugh, and love. And I'm going to bolus feed tonight. Usually I use my pump, and I'll pump in my food over an 18-hour period because it's easier on my gut. But tonight I'm going to eat dinner with you folks if you want to grab a snack. But we live, love, and we laugh. And so we're going to start eating because I'm starved to death. So if you've got a snack, tweet me or give a comment on what snack you're going to be eating or dinner. Share pictures if you want. Food doesn't bother me, except for Monday. Monday food bothers me. After I got all the carbohydrates out of me, it didn't matter. I think we're the only species that eats for comfort. Maybe others do, I don't know. I'm not an expert on other species. I can barely tolerate us. And, okay. I lost my train of thought. So, food doesn't bother me. Mondays it does, because Thursday night the commercials start. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all food-based. The games, getting together with family, the Applebee's commercials, all the commercials, getting you ready to spend money for the weekend. And by Monday morning, that's, I think Blanche Devereaux said magenta. It was her feeling. Yes, queers out there, I know Blanche Devereaux and her magenta. And that was her magenta feeling. Monday is my Blanche Devereaux Golden Girls magenta day, because it's been all week being brainwashed about food all weekend, but it's no big deal. I'm usually over it by noon. Luckily I don't wake up till 1, so that's a little humor. Okay, Totally lost my train of thought, but that's okay. We've got things. So when I go out to eat I do go to restaurants in this winter time with family and friends for coffee or whatever. I will take a cup, or the restaurants will provide a cup, and I will pour my food over in a cup. And as you guys may be eating your filet mignon or your biscuits and gravy or whatever, I'll be feeding myself right there at the table. And usually the restaurants, that's my, I don't know if you can hear that or not, but that was the alarm. Okay, so usually the restaurants will bring me cups, and one lady once said, "That's so disgusting. And this is, my clean syringe is no different than your dirty fork. The only difference is mine was brand new, came out of a package. Yours still has grits on it from the dishwasher that makes minimum wage. No offense, minimum wage dishwasher. But so my utensil is cleaner than your utensil." That woman just really got it. The Sunday morning restaurant people, the church crowd, boy, they think they're holier than thou. And there's a big old girl come home from church, old woman, too much perfume. And I call that putting on too much whore juice. Men and women do it. So, okay. So we're going to eat a little bit. And the first thing I'm going to do is grab my feeding tube hose. And I'm going to take a little drink of water. I'm doing it this way because I got my water bag behind me. I've convinced people that a little vodka will clean my tube, so we have a couple shots of vodka in there. Well, why not vodka? We're Russians now, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my little syringe here. And I do have a plate because I'm not a monster. I still eat right. That's part of the psyche. It's, you know, if this is my new normal way of eating, and before I do that, what is the feeding tube? Well, this is my feeding tube. So what we have here is, this is essentially my new mouth where I'm going to eat. This is essentially my esophagus. This clamp here is essentially my sphincter that keeps your stomach food and acid from coming out your mouth. Now, you people with heartburn that take the Prevacid or whatever, the GERD, your sphincter doesn't work. Mine is new every 30 days. Ha. So this keeps the stomach's contents from coming out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my utensil, just like your fork. I'm going to open my mouth. I'm going to stick the spoon in my mouth. I'm going to open my sphincter. And there we go. And I'm just going to let it go. Just feed me a little bit. I'm taking a big mouthful because I want to get this over with. But if we were at a restaurant, I was with family or friends, or if it was a holiday, I'm going to get me a drink of water. There's my water cup. There we go. And just like you, here it comes. A little heartburn, a little burp. So I'll eat a little more here in a minute. Alright, there we go with that. Put that back over on the plate. What are you eating? Tweet me. Let me know what you're eating. Send me pictures. This burp's like, I'm eating Jevity 1.2, and it's 1.2 calories per milliliter. And basically, it smells like some of the raunchiest oatmeal, and it burps like oatmeal, and that's how I taste. If your senses change. So now, you know, you've been to Burger King or Taco Bell. You've ate Taco Bell 2 days after you had that last burrito. That's what happens with this. You get that back, and the gases and stuff, and it's like horrible oatmeal. And I sometimes will put little food flavoring in it, maple food flavoring like you would use for an icing. Masks get okay. Are you with me? Nobody's saying anything, but that's okay. It's Saturday night. Let's see. Oh, you're watching Saturday Night. Oh, am I competing up against Saturday Night Live? Is that it? Son of a gun. I didn't even think about that, because I'll watch it on the DVR. So we've got surgery coming up this next week on Monday, and that's a little nerve-wracking. I'll probably get 25 staples. I will post a picture of the recovery and let y'all know how I'm doing. I've had to go through... There's the alarm, sorry. I had to postpone it because I had some bad heart failure, and I've been on some high-dose heart failure medicine that's completely whooped me. So my tweeting is down like 75% over the last month, and it is what it is. So where are we at here? We've got the craziness going on in Washington, D.C. The folks are just, it's insanity. I don't get it. I don't understand it. They're getting their Ayn Rand, big business. It's a combination of just hatred and paying off their donors. I just do not get it. But we've got John Kelly. He come up out of his cave. And then you got Trump batting him around. And I just don't get it. I'm just not going to try to get it at this point. Because we can just resist. We can just move on. Fighting and not get... I haven't watched cable news in several months because it's just this constant loop. You know what's going on, and I'm not going to contribute by giving CNN, MSNBC, Fox, giving them a reward of having my rating, because they're more concerned, and I believe this wholeheartedly, they are more concerned about the shit show they're putting on, making opinions, instead of just reporting what's going on. A few on each channel does good, but they're corporate, and it is big corporate. Motto, that's not the word I want. It's all about the ratings, baby. It's all about the ratings. So we can read. Remember reading? I do a lot of reading. I read articles. I read what's going on. I read the law. I get the register every day of what the White House is doing from the government, And some of the stuff is sickening. What Congress is doing is sickening. What the Senate's doing is sickening. And I don't reward the news channels because we know what's going on, but you can get your information without rewarding these guys with their ratings. And because they're being just not being honest. They're putting on their show. They're bringing in the perpetrators and giving them time to speak and to put out their opinions, instead of just saying, this is an apple. This is applesauce made from the apple. It's just nonsense, and you may disagree with that, but you get in that loop, and so I do my thing. You see it on Twitter, what I do, and it's just insanity all the way around. The media is owned by the corporations. The politicians are owned by the corporations, and there's nothing left for anybody else. So you have this wind tunnel of this fight that's going on, and nothing is happening. The Constitution's not being upheld. Quid pro quo here, quid quo pro there, and it's all the way around the board. So we've got to resist. We got to get them out, but we got to start over. We got to get Putin out of our government. We got to get the big donors out of our government, and quite honestly, we've got to get these people that's been in for 40 years out of our government. We need term limits. A lot of this wouldn't happen, and I believe this, if we had term limits. If you take away the incentive of that permanent paycheck by voting how somebody wants you to vote, and this addiction to money and greed, and then the politicians have to be, their way of life has to be to get elected. And you can't get elected without millions of dollars. But I'm just spitballing here. So let's take another eat. What are you eating? Let me know what you're eating. I'm eating Jevity. But actually, it's a big T-bone steak in my heart. So, oh, that's awful. That one hit me sooner than the other ones. Small talk. Talk to me. Now I need to take a little medicine. So, old Kim Kardashian's husband is the greatest entertainer, singer, whatever in the world. You hear that? Isn't that exciting? To have that kind of confidence. I read somewhere where somebody said, up the meds. I don't know if that's true or not, but could be a good idea. I know I'm not the greatest anything, but I'm good enough. Breaking news. Doug Daddy has been killed. You know where you were when you heard that. You were here. So I'll get back to this in a minute. that's my motion detector. If you hear that in the background, my camera, my Wise cam. Are you there? So the Catholic bishops have proposed deacons become priests to help the shortages of clergy in the Amazon. So I guess that would be a good thing if you're into that kind of business. So let's see here. This isn't quite going out the way I thought it would be. But I am going to take me some coffee now and rinse. Here goes 10 milliliter coffees. Katie Bo Williams said al-Baghdadi is believed to have detonated his suicide vest, killing himself. Well, that is interesting, isn't it? We get more information on that later, I'm sure. So are y'all there? Well, this has been my first live stream. I'm wearing down, so I'm going to get off here. Thanks for